All right, get ready because today we're going to dive into the world of day trading. Whether you're totally new to it or, maybe you've kind of dabbled in the market a bit, we really want you to walk away from this deep dive understanding what it actually takes to be a day trader. We're talking like really getting into it, not just, surface level stuff.
Yeah, it seems like a world that's full of, myths and
Oh,
misconceptions.
absolutely. And that's why we're using How to Day Trade the Plain Truth as our guide.
Yeah.
It's written by Ross Cameron, who's not just talking about this stuff, he actually does it.
Hmm.
This guy has built a real career as a day trader. He's got a whole community. And the crazy thing is, he started out sharing his whole journey on YouTube while he was actually trading. I mean, think about it. His channel has over 1 million subscribers now. That's got to tell you something about how much he actually knows.
1 million subscribers in this kind of niche is pretty impressive. It definitely says something about, his credibility and his ability to connect with people.
Right. So we're not saying we're going to turn you into some trading guru overnight or anything. But what we are going to do is kind of demystify the whole thing. We're going to separate fact from hype. And you really see what it takes, the mindset, the prep, the real deal. And let me tell you, it's not always pretty. We're going to be talking about the emotional roller coaster it can be, how important it is to set up what he calls guardrails, and also this surprisingly cool world of small cap stocks.
Yeah, maybe the best place to start is with one of the biggest misconceptions out there, that day trading is like this get-rich-quick scheme.
Right, like you just click a button, bam, you're rich.
Well, Cameron's own story pretty much shuts down that idea right away. He's super honest about how he struggled for years, taking losses, figuring things out before he really started seeing consistent success. He actually even challenged himself to grow an account, starting with only $583. And, he did succeed in the end, but he's very clear. This was after years of learning how to trade. It wasn't just some overnight thing. He doesn't think anyone can just jump in and do the same. It was more like a test of his own skills and his strategy, not some get-rich-quick magic trick.
It's more like mastering a skill. Like, how you learn an instrument or to cook really well. You don't just
Right.
walk in and expect to be a pro, right?
Exactly. It takes real dedication and discipline, and you have to put in the time to develop your skills.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the idea that you need tons of money to even get started? Isn't day trading just for people who are already rich and can just throw money around?
That's another myth that Cameron tackles in his book. He shows how success in day trading isn't really about how much money you have. It's much more about having a solid strategy and really understanding how the market works. He actually makes a pretty interesting argument that, in some ways. Day trading is a place where individual traders can actually have an advantage over the big institutions.
Really? That's surprising. I always thought it was the opposite. Like you're up against these Wall Street giants with their crazy algorithms and supercomputers.
Think about it this way. Why would a huge firm focus on the kind of quick, small trades that day traders do? What they really care about are large cap stocks and long-term investments where they can move tons of money. Day trading, especially with small cap stocks, it's like peanuts to them. Imagine Warren Buffett trying to make his billions by trading penny stocks. It just wouldn't be worth it for him.
So it's like they're playing a completely different game.
Exactly. And that leaves a whole open field for individual traders who are willing to learn the ropes and, figure out how to win.
I'm starting to get why this might be more accessible than I originally thought. But let's face it, it can't be all sunshine and rainbows, right? I mean, Cameron's pretty honest about how emotional day trading can be. It's like a roller coaster.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't sugarcoat it. He talks about the crazy highs and lows, the pressure to make fast decisions, and how you constantly have to adjust to the market. It's always changing. He even shares a really personal story about how tough it was on his personal life. Like his wife actually left him when he was just starting out and struggling with day trading.
Wow, that's intense. It really shows how much commitment and resilience you need to make it in this world.
Yeah, it does. But it also shows how determined Cameron was. He chose to see that tough time not as a failure, but as a lesson.
So how did he stay focused and not let his emotions, completely derail him?
That's where this idea of guardrails comes in. He doesn't just throw the term around. He actually gives real examples of how he built these protective barriers into his trading.
So what did these guardrails actually look like? What kind of rules did he set for himself?
Well, he had some pretty strict rules. Like, he decided to only trade for 2 hours in the morning. That was it. No more, no less. And then, get this, after those 2 hours were up, he'd actually unplug his computer, like physically unplug it, to avoid being tempted to keep trading.
Oh, wow. So he was serious about setting that hard stop, like not even letting himself get sucked back in.
Exactly. And during those 2 hours, it wasn't like he was just, winging it. He had everything planned out in advance, like his entry and exit points for each trade. That meant he knew exactly what price he was going to buy a stock at, what price to sell it at to lock in his profit, and probably most importantly, when to cut his losses if things weren't going his way. To stop a small loss from becoming a huge one.
It seems kind of counterintuitive, though, right? Like limiting your trading time and having all these rules. Wouldn't that make you miss out on opportunities?
Well, that's the interesting part about Cameron's approach. It's not about chasing every single trade. It's about being disciplined, focusing on the setups that have the best chance of working out and managing your risk really, really well.
This whole guardrails thing is really sticking with me. It makes sense not just for trading, but for anything where, emotions can mess with your thinking, like budgeting or sticking to a fitness plan or even relationships. Having those boundaries in place can really make a difference.
Totally. It's like setting up a system so you can make good decisions even when things get stressful.
Okay, so we've talked about the myths, the mental side of things, but I'm really curious about what day traders like Cameron actually look for in the market. Is it all about finding those undervalued companies like you always hear about with regular investing?
It's a little different. Remember, day traders aren't trying to hold on to stocks for months or years. They're all about finding stocks that are going to move quickly, where they can make a profit in just one trading day. Cameron actually has this very specific set of things he looks for. He calls them the 5 key characteristics of a potential daily unicorn.
Daily unicorn. That's a great way to put it. What makes a stock a daily unicorn, though?
The first thing is a big price jump, like compared to the day before. He's looking for stocks that are up more than 10% already that day.
So let's say a stock closed at $10 yesterday, and today it's trading at $11 or more. That would be something he'd notice.
Yeah, exactly. That shows momentum, which is what day traders love. The second thing he looks for is high relative volume.
Wait, hold on. What does relative volume mean?
It basically means how many shares of the stock are being traded that day compared to the average. So if a stock normally trades 1 million shares a day and suddenly it's trading like 10 million.
Okay, so that would be like a red flag, or I guess a green flag in this case.
Definitely a green flag. A relative volume ratio that high would get his attention for sure. It usually means something's going on, something's causing all that extra trading.
Got it. So big price jump, high volume, what else?
The third thing is more practical. He mostly focuses on stocks that are priced between $2 and $20 a share.
Is that to manage risk? So he doesn't lose a ton of money if the price suddenly drops.
Exactly. He explains that stocks with higher prices tend to swing more wildly, meaning you could lose or gain a lot of money very quickly. He found that sticking to that $2 to $20 range was the sweet spot. It let him make the most profit while also keeping his risk under control.
Interesting. So it's not just about finding stocks that are moving up. It's about finding ones that are moving in a price range that makes sense for his strategy.
Right. And the fourth characteristic he looks for is some kind of breaking news or catalyst, something that's causing all that increased activity and volatility.
So he's trying to find events that are pushing the price up, like
Yeah.
maybe a company announces some amazing new product.
Yeah, it could be all sorts of things. A good earnings report, a new product launch, even just a rumor about a merger. Anything that creates excitement and gets traders interested.
Sounds like you got to be on top of the news if you're a day trader.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about numbers. You got to understand what's going on behind the scenes, the stories behind the stocks.
Okay, so big price jump, high volume, price range that he's comfortable with, breaking news. What's the fifth characteristic of a daily unicorn?
The fifth thing is all about supply and demand. He looks for stocks with what's called a low float.
Low float. I'm not sure I've heard that term before. What does that mean?
Basically, float is how many shares of a company's stock are available to be traded publicly. So a low float means there aren't that many shares out there.
Okay, but how does that play into his strategy?
Well, Cameron explains that when there's a lot of demand for a stock, but there aren't many shares available to buy, it can create this kind of price pressure. Like, imagine a really popular concert with only a few tickets left. Everyone wants to go, but the supply is limited, so the ticket prices go way up. It's the same idea with stocks. If you have high demand and low supply, even a small amount of buying can push the price up really fast.
I see. So he's not just picking any stock that's moving up. He's looking for this specific combination of things that could make the price explode.
Exactly. It's like he's putting together a puzzle, finding those pieces that increase the chances of finding a daily unicorn.
And this focus on smaller companies, those small cap stocks, seems like a big part of his approach.
Yeah, he likes small cap stocks more than those big, well-known companies because they tend to be more volatile.
Why is that? Are they more affected by news and events or something?
Yeah, and they're also less influenced by the big institutional investors and their algorithms. Remember, those big firms are trying to move huge amounts of money, and they usually stick with the larger, more stable companies.
So it's like there's this whole hidden world of small cap stocks that's full of opportunities for day traders
Yeah.
who know what to look for.
Exactly. And it's not just about knowing what to look for, it's about having a system for learning, practicing, and getting better. Cameron is super clear that you don't become a successful day trader overnight. It takes dedication and a willingness to put in the work.
So for people who are interested in trying this out, where do they even begin?
The first thing he emphasizes is immersing yourself in knowledge. He says it's not enough to just learn some basic terms or follow hot stock tips. You really have to understand how the market works, learn about different strategies, and always keep learning.
So you got to build a strong foundation before you even start trading.
That's the idea. And then this next step is super important, practicing with a simulator before you use any real money.
So it's like taking a car for a test drive before you buy it.
Exactly. It lets you get a feel for trading without risking any of your own money. You can try out different strategies, make mistakes, learn from them, and develop your instincts.
And he says you should make it as realistic as possible, right? Like trade with the same amount of money you would in a real trade.
Yeah, that's important. It helps you develop discipline and get used to how it feels to win and lose.
So you're basically training yourself to make good decisions even when you're under pressure. But wouldn't it get kind of lonely doing all this by yourself?
That's why the last thing he talks about is finding a community, connecting with other traders for support, to share ideas, and to keep each other accountable.
So it's not about being a lone wolf.
Not at all. He thinks connecting with other people, like online or in person, can be really helpful. He talks about his own community that he built, but he also encourages people to find the group that's right for them, one that fits their personality and their trading style.
So it's like having a team to help you on your journey. So we've come to the end of our deep dive into the world of day trading with Ross Cameron. And wow, we've really covered a lot. I feel like I actually get it now, what day trading really is.
We've been on quite a ride, right? We busted some of those big myths, like the idea that it's some easy way to get rich or that you got to be loaded to even try.
And it's been amazing to learn just how much of it is mental, the psychology. Not just dealing with the ups and downs, but also having those guardrails to keep you on track.
Yeah, Cameron's own story made all of that so much more real, didn't it? It reminds us that day trading is as much about mastering yourself as it is about mastering the market.
Absolutely. And then the actual strategies. Who knew that hunting for daily unicorns could be so interesting?
It's a pretty unique way to look at the market, that's for sure. Focusing on momentum, understanding the impact of news and events, and realizing that those smaller companies, the small cap stocks, can be where the real action is.
Yeah, it's like a whole different side of the market that I never even thought about before.
And Cameron's really clear that it's not just about luck or gut feelings. It's about having a system, learning everything you can, practicing with the simulator, and finding people to support you.
I started this thinking day trading was this super exclusive, high-pressure world. But after this deep dive, I feel like I understand it. Like, it's not this mysterious thing anymore. It's not some magic formula, but it's something you can learn if you're willing to put in the work.
He's not trying to sell you some dream, he's giving you a roadmap. And whether you decide to actually become a day trader or just want to be a better investor in general, what he shares is really valuable.
I totally agree. And for anyone who wants to go even deeper, Cameron's book has tons of extra resources. Plus, we want to keep talking about this. Come find us on social media, share your thoughts, any questions you have, anything that's got you thinking. Thanks for joining us on this awesome journey. Until next time, happy trading, happy investing, and most importantly, happy learning.